Done.
All right. Let's do it. Welcome, 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 welcome. Happy hump day. Somebody said hump day, right? Happy hump day to everybody. All right, getting excited here. Okay, welcome to everybody. Welcome to all of our members here on Zoom, Black Directory members, and then welcome to all of our non-members. Hopefully we'll have you here as a member sometime soon. Hopefully today. That'd be great. Listen, really excited about this Zoom on today. And this, again, we're streamed, of course, live on YouTube as well. And this is a different one here because, again, we're always talking about success that we want to have in business. But we also want to talk about the success that we want to have in our home lives. You know, why do we make our money? We make our money so we have more time with our friends and our family, right? And so we really want to discuss all of that and talk about all of that on today. And so really excited about that. So give me 1 second here. Let's see here. All right. All right, great. So let's do this first. Everybody on Zoom, if you can, go to YouTube. And Kadisha, if you could place the link down in the chat or Ty, either one, if you could place the link. As a matter of fact, I'll do it really fast. Just place the link down in the chat for YouTube. If you could actually go onto YouTube and actually just like the page, like the YouTube page, that would be great. We want you to subscribe to the page and like the page there as well. This is going to be good. Again, this really excited about this one. I want to learn some things myself, and I want to see how we all obviously can begin to do business here together there also. And that's going to be great here. So let me place this down in the chat really fast for YouTube. So again, everyone, we're creating some content over on YouTube. We have some, again, as I mentioned before in our last show, we actually have a new show that we've created, and we will be actually launching that here very soon. We're pretty much done editing it. And so here we go. The link is in the chat for YouTube. So everybody, please click on the link there on YouTube. Go over to our YouTube page. And so like that page and subscribe to that page, and feel free to share that page there as well. You can actually also share that page there also, which is really good, which is good. So going to be getting started here just 1 second, but I want everyone to do that really fast before we get too far. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll be taking your questions. So members, if you have questions, feel free to place those down in the chat, and then non-members as well. If you have questions, place those down in the chat over there on YouTube. And if you have any questions, definitely for our speaker, I'm going to be bringing her up here shortly in just 1 moment. This is great. Listen, we're here to learn. We're here to learn to see exactly how we work together, how we can partner together and do business together, and all of that, which is really good. Let's see here. Give me 1 moment here. All right. So again, welcome to everybody over there on our YouTube page, and hopefully you see my background. Hope you like my background, because what are we talking about today? Successful Black families. Obviously growing great Black businesses, which we all want to do. We also want to grow great Black families as well, which is absolutely key and absolutely important with everything that we're doing. All right, let me do one other thing here. So again, we have more people coming in on Zoom. So again, I just placed the link over down in the chat. So again, if you could actually utilize the link over in the chat and actually go over to our YouTube page and like our YouTube page as well, like and subscribe over there, that'd be great. That would be excellent. Really good. So let's get ready to get started. All right, so again, this is an exciting one. And man, if you are a member and if you have great services, great products that you want to share with other members and you want to share with non-members, definitely now's the time to get going with that. Shoot me an email, say, hey, I would love to host my business, host my company on one of the member hosted Zoom calls here as well. And that'll be a great one there also for everything that we have going on. All right, give me 1 second. Let me get one other thing here going, and which is good. Man, we've got a lot of things going on, many different screens here over here, so which is great. All right, so let's get started. So coming to the stage today is Miss Bolanle. Now you're gonna have to show me how to say your name correctly. I always just give me one. Looks like I have extra screen. Give me one, but there we go. I have that extra screen going up. All right. So I'm gonna say it. Ambanisi, is that correct? Kind of, sort of.
That's pretty close. My name
My name is Bolanle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Bonesian.
All right, you're gonna have to tell everybody what that means. All right, so let me give you a proper introduction. So this is good. Our company is called Black Parents on Top, and so which is good. And so obviously we're focusing on Black parents today. Some of you are already parents, some are not parents, some are future parents, some are grandparents. So we want to talk to the grandparents as well, Black. So this is good. What they can do, and some of grandparents taking care of their grandchildren, or some of their grandparents they take care of the grandchildren and send them back home to their parents. So we got all of that going on today, but definitely some great tips that we want to begin to give to everyone and discuss all of that. So again, welcome to everybody on our YouTube. Got any questions, go ahead and place those down in the chat. And someone says hello from Lonnie's Bridal. Nice to be here. Nice to have you here. Absolutely. Nice to have you here. All right. So Bolanle, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell everyone a little bit about who you are. Obviously, you've been a member now for almost, I guess, a little bit more than a year or so. But tell everyone who you are and what your business is as well.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity. Again, my name is Bolanle, and I head an education and training company, an adult education and training company called You and I Rise. That's the logo right there.
Okay, there we go.
You and I Rise is an adult education and training company that solves Black American problems at school, work, and in the community. And the foundation of our training is parent training, parent education. I think about it as parent empowerment. I'd like to make a couple of statements, and I would really appreciate your response in the chat. It has to do with just some general understandings. Number one, this society, talking about America, does not have a process that equips its people to be effective parents. So as it stands, unless one is court ordered to attend parenting classes, everybody is either doing the best that they can with the information, tools, and resources available to them. They're doing what their parents did or doing the opposite from what their parents did, depending on how they feel about it. Okay. What do you think about that? Please respond to that.
Definitely. Well, let me back up a little bit. So definitely, we want to get the participation with the audience, which is we're definitely going to get that. So that's good stuff. So definitely, you all go ahead and answer that question that Bolanle has as well. So, but tell everyone why, what led you into this particular industry? Because obviously this is different. And what makes you the professional that everyone obviously should really listen to, should pay attention to, and should be attracted to what you're saying as well.
Indeed. Thank you. I got into this because First of all, when I became a parent, I decided, well, before I became a parent, back in the 8th grade, up until the 8th grade, I decided I was going to be a teacher. But then when I came back to St. Louis, which is where I live, and got culture shock because I was in the school environment where the students were not cooperating with their learning, basically, learning kept getting interrupted by the uncooperative students. And I decided I wasn't going to be a teacher, but I'm going to homeschool my child. And so fast forward, I started homeschooling my child, and then I learned that there was an independent African-centered school here in St. Louis. And I had already started learning about Black stuff, African history, and how it is that we came to be in the condition that we're in terms of our communities. And so I took the course that was required of any parent who decided to enroll their child at the school. And I learned about African-centered education, what it is, what it isn't, and how to support my child in the educational or the schooling process. And then I decided to enroll her, but I stayed. And because they were able to teach my 4-year-old daughter to read right away, they asked me to teach the 4-year-olds that were enrolled there, the 4 and 5-year-olds. So I ended up being a teacher. Even though I did not have a degree, I wasn't a certified teacher, but I ended up teaching there for about 11 years. And halfway through that process, I started to notice a couple of disturbing trends. One is that parents were giving away their power, and it looked like things like parents would come up to me and say, "You know what, Mom Bolanle? We were home last night, little Johnny was acting a fool." And I told them, "If you don't straighten up, I'm going to tell Mom Bolanle." And do you know he straightened right up? And I'm looking at the parent like, that's backwards. I'm supposed to be in school telling your child, if you don't straighten up, I'm going to tell your mother or I'm going to tell your father. So that was an example of parents giving away power and not what that they don't know that they even have. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, without a doubt. But you mentioned something that I kind of want to touch on, which is very, very interesting. Obviously, we know the pandemic just here happened, a couple of years ago, and parents, whether they wanted to or not, they became teachers.
Yes.
Some of them principals, and some individuals actually also began to do their own homeschooling. So obviously today we're talking about everybody. We're talking about obviously growing great Black businesses, but the importance of having a great Black family as well, and how we actually do that, and some of the tips that we need to do while we're actually growing our businesses. Some of the things that we actually need to be doing for our families there as well. I got some things I'm going to mention here a little bit later, but this is important. So in discussing the homeschooling, a lot of people are looking at that idea, and some people realize how tough it is. But tell us a little bit about the homeschooling, how that can really help a Black family.
Well, homeschooling, and I ended up homeschooling my children too. Like I said, started with the intention of homeschooling. And then after I spent the 11 years at the Independent African Center School, I homeschooled my children. At the time it was 3 of them, and I homeschooled them for about 5 years. And the thing that comes, the main overarching thing has to do with the fact that it's not as hard as you think it is, and it's not as easy as you think it is, because it's not as hard as you think it is, because homeschooling doesn't take 6 hours to do like you would, like a regular school day is 6 hours, at least 6 hours. And homeschooling does not take that long. You can devote 3 or 4 hours and have a full, rich homeschool day experience. Then the second part of it has to do with the structure. You want to make sure that we're including that whatever experiences that we have as a homeschooling parent include the reading, the spelling, the vocabulary, the math, the science, social studies. And that's not as hard as it sounds, but it does need to be included in order to create a well-rounded student. But it's also our values and the goals that we have for our family really come into play when we're taking that kind of responsibility, which I think every parent should do. I think every parent should homeschool for at least a couple of years, just so that you can get a real in-depth understanding of what it takes to teach a child. And actually that gets into the second thing that I said was—
Well, don't jump there. Hold that thought, because I think that's an important part. So obviously one of the things we talk about, and I just it's hard for me to be politically correct, so I'm not going to try.
Don't worry about that.
Right. So we know the racism we talk about and the white supremacy we talk about in schools. The individuals teach our kids who don't always look like us, who don't understand where our kids are coming from. I don't have kids personally myself as of yet, but obviously I have nieces and nephews, and of course there are kids everywhere. And so the idea of, and I love that you said, an African-centered curriculum that you can create at being at home with your kids that they may not get into schools. So talk about that, the type of curriculum that you can create for the kids to make sure that they're understanding their worth. This is the reason why so many people go to HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, because of the self-worth that they get, the education, the family environment, and all of that. So, but talk about how they could actually, that could be created at home in school as well.
Okay, well, thank you for that question. The best place to begin that curriculum creation for yourself is to be clear about the definition of education. Okay, now in the Black community, we've generally been taught a limited view of education, and I'll just give you the quick definition that is that the rest of the world uses. Okay, so education is a process that equips a student with equips a student to be able to meet the challenges and solve the problems that affect people.
Give me 1 second, if everyone, Miss Walker, need you to place yourself on mute. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna mute everybody and then unmute yourself again, Bolanle. All right, go ahead. Unmute yourself now.
Okay. Education is a process that equips a student to meet the challenges and solve the problems that affect the people. I would like to know, please put in the chat whether or not you've ever heard that definition of education before. Okay. And going deeper to define it, education equips a student with a sense of their identity, purpose, and direction. It teaches a student who they are, why they're here, how to achieve their purpose, their why. You know,
that's so great. So let's do it again. So education teaches people who they are. What else?
Their purpose, what they're here for.
What they're here for, and what was the other one?
And how to achieve that purpose, that direction. So it's again, identity, purpose, and direction.
Identity, purpose, and direction. And these are things that parents can teach themselves. Now, I want to jump into some of the things that we're really going to discuss on today, but I think that's so important because when you go to public school, you may not get who you are. And the problem is a lot of times, you know, we've all been kids, we've all been in school. A lot of times we get our identity from other kids telling us who we are and in the peer pressure and trying to be like other individuals, but being able to teach them in your own environment who they are and what they're here for and what their purpose is, that is priceless.
Well, sir, in public schools, they do teach us who we are. It's just not necessarily the who we are that they say we are is not necessarily true or in our best interest.
Absolutely.
An identity that's in our best interest to embrace. Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's the reason for when it comes to homeschooling, it's important for us to be clear on the definition of education so that we can be intentional about what we are teaching our children. Because again, the overarching definition of education is to equip students to meet the challenges and solve the problems that affect the people. So when it comes to affecting the challenges that affect people, then we have to pay attention to who the people are that we're talking about, whose challenges, you know, we're meeting and problems we're solving. So
absolutely,
that makes sense.
Absolutely, no, that's definitely good stuff. Go ahead.
I'd like to go a little deeper in defining education because the process of education equips a student with the will, that is the desire, as well as the skills, which is the reading, the writing, the math, and all of that, to make sure that the society survives, grows, and develops. Okay, so most of us think of education being the acquiring of those skills, you know, reading and writing and math and all of that, but the will, the desire to meet our communities and our families' problems, that meet our challenges and problems, is just as important. Because like if you look at the Black community, for example, we have people in our community who want to strengthen our families and communities, but don't know how. They lack the skills. And then on the other hand, we also have a large segment of our community that have crucial problem-solving skills. There are many Black builders, Black educators, Black politicians, Black lawyers and doctors and Black policemen, but they do not apply their skills to solving our problems as Black people. So these people lack the will. Okay, so I'm just trying to show how it is that will and skills are equally important, because we're still defining education here.
Yeah. Okay. Now this is good stuff. So let's talk about it real fast. I want to jump in it really quick. So obviously you have a 5-day challenge coming up today. I'm going to share my screen here, and I want you to talk about it briefly. So tell everybody what your 5-day challenge is going to be about and how they can begin getting connected with you.
Sure. The 5-day challenge is called the Parent on Purpose, 5-day Parent on Purpose Challenge. And the goal of it is to equip ourselves as Black people with parenting basics that strengthen our relationships with our children, and it helps them to thrive in school and in life, whether you're homeschooling or if your child is enrolled in the school. And it also helps us to meet our own personal and professional goals. So that 5-day challenge is designed to do all three of those things: strengthen our relationships with our children, help them to thrive in school and life, and to help us as the parents meet our own personal and professional goals.
This is good, because I want to read something off here that I think is so important. We actually sent it out in the email, and it says, too many entrepreneurs are successful in public and in business, but are failures at home and in private. You know, we don't like to hear that word failures, but I'm actually gonna quote someone here recently that I just heard an interview here on Saturday. But as the quote goes, don't be a public success and a private failure. And so this is so key. So I was watching an interview. I'm not gonna say who it was, but I was watching an interview of a very, very famous civil rights activist, a female, and she discussed how she was obviously very successful at what she's doing with her activism, but how she was doing a not so great job with her child. And now that her child is a teenager, she's beginning to look back and realize that yes, she was there in the home, but she wasn't always present to understand what his issues were and what he was going through. And she even mentioned it was actually not until her sister many times pulled her to the side and say, "Hey, did you know your son was going through this?" that she began to recognize what was happening. So talk about that, the idea of how we're all trying to grow up businesses and expand, and people are doing everything, but then sometimes how we could be missing it. And what are some of the signs that we might be missing it with some of our children?
Well, I tend to stay at the foundation of things. And so what you're talking about there has to do with what was stated in the beginning, what I stated in the very beginning, which is that this society lacks a process that equips its people to be effective parents. So there is just some general parenting basics that people need to know, but don't know because it's not commonly taught. And so when we're lacking that kind of information, when we're lacking basic information, then again, we're left to our own devices, doing the best that we can with the information and tools and resources we have available to us, And so, for example, there is one main overarching responsibility that parents have to children. Do you know what it is? Most people don't. And it's fine. And I don't want to put it like that. I don't want to put people on the spot. But there is one main overarching responsibility that adults have to their children, and that is to help them discover their purpose. And if we don't know that as parents, then how would we know to do that? You know what I'm saying?
So let me stop you right there, because that's a great point right there. Helping the children to understand their purpose. But before we can kind of tell somebody else their purpose, we also need to understand what our purpose is also, right? Having that self-discovery.
That is fantastic. That's a fantastic observation. And that is what a lot of parents say. And there is truth to that. However, if we're in a situation where we don't know our purpose, but we do have children, that doesn't mean that we're not equipped to help our children to discover their purpose. Because then at that point, it is my complete belief that our purpose, our own personal purpose, is wrapped up in helping them to discover theirs.
Yeah, no, that helping them to discover theirs. So that's very interesting. All right, so it is. So your course, your 5-day challenge is starting on Monday, correct?
That's right. It starts on Monday and it goes 1 hour per day. The hours are, let's see, Eastern time is 7 p.m., 7 to 8. Central time is 6 to 7. Mountain time is 5.
Well, don't worry about it. They'll figure all that out. So, but 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, right?
That's right. 7 o'clock Eastern Standard, 1 hour per day. And the investment is $99.
Okay, great. So this is good. So are you getting that? Now, I think everybody, this is so key because that's actually a really great point. So let's talk about some of the pointers. And again, the link, Kadisha, if you could place the link down in YouTube and actually place the link again here on Zoom. So everyone that actually wants to take that course. So give us a couple of things that people will learn, that they will actually learn in your 5-day challenge.
All right. Thank you for asking that. Day one we'll be focusing on our current condition, and that has to do with our as Black people, our condition as Black people in general, and how it is that basically the purpose of day one is to create that relaxed environment so that we understand as parents that the conditions of our families is not something that we created. We were born into it. Okay, because our parents did the best that they could with the information and resources available to them, and so on, on back with our grandparents and that kind of thing. So the conditions that our family's in is something that we're all sharing. We're all in the same boat. So we want to create an environment between us so that we're relaxed and more willing to share and to not take our condition personally, so that we can get rid of shame and blame and embarrassment and just get to problem solving. Okay.
And let me jump in real fast because I think it's so key because, I'm a son. I'm not a parent as of yet, but one thing that I do know about parents many times is they may feel like they've got it all figured out. And sometimes it can be hard to admit that, hey, I need a few extra tips. I need a few extra pointers. I need someone to just kind of really help me out with my son or my daughter, especially when kids get around to be teenagers. You need a lot of help. I know when I became a teenager, I just, as a Black boy, an American Black male, I could specifically remember my mindset at the time was, I need to create my own independence from my mom. So if she asked me, hey, you want to go to the store? No, I don't want to go to the store. Hey, you want to go ride? No, I don't want to go ride. I don't want to. I'm at 13, 14 and realize I don't want to hang out with my mom all the time. I want to go hang out with my friends. I want to put some separation between my mom and my family and myself, so that now I can start to figure out who I am, what my identity is. And sometimes children go through that, but the parents don't understand that that's what's happening, and so they think little Tanya just don't want to be around them anymore. But I think sometimes it's she or he is trying to create their own identity and trying to figure out who they are.
That's an excellent point. That being able to, when you're parenting teenagers, let's approach it this way. Traditional African society accords adulthood closer to the onset of puberty than later in life, the way that American society does. So and the benchmark of adulthood keeps changing. So it used to be that, okay, well, when you're puberty, you're an adult. No, not till you're 16. No, not till you're 18. No, not till you're 21. Well, puberty hasn't gone anywhere, and so that helps to explain why we have the issues with when we're parenting teenagers, is because of that mentality that you just got through talking about, and you used your own experience to verbalize it. It is fantastic that you are declaring, you want to declare your independence, and you want to be more responsible for your own life. And as parents, if we, again, because we like this process that equips us with this kind of basic information so that we know what's coming and can prepare for what's coming, then that explains why we have the strife between parents and teenagers the way that we have, because we really are dealing with some young adults and young adults who deserve to have more autonomy, and also with that autonomy comes responsibility, that life is going to be teaching them. And we have to, if we know that we have 12 years to raise our children, we would treat it differently than if we had 21 years. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about.
This is good. Let me stop here. I think this is good. So everybody, so she's getting ready to have a 5-day challenge coming up on Monday. It's going to be Monday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So on day one, again, we'll be discussing the parent's overarching responsibility to the child. And you and I rise relationship and productivity model. So this is good. And tell everybody again how many children you have personally.
I have 4 children. They're grown now, 34, 30, and my twins are 29. I mean,
Twins.
27,
You had twins.
Sorry, 27. Boy, girl, there'd be 27 next week.
I didn't realize you had twins.
1 boy and 3 girls.
God bless you.
Ain't nothing I can do about that. I can't help him. He's the only boy. Bless his
1
heart.
boy, 3 girls. Is he one of the twins? The boy?
He is. He is. Poor thing. But it has made him a fantastic father and husband. I tell you that.
That's amazing. So you have four great children, and obviously you had to utilize all of this from your experience of being a parent. Now, and also tell everyone before we go to day 2, because you're not just someone who decided, hey, I just want to do this. Obviously, you had your experience with teaching, but you also teach this to different organizations. So I'm going to stop my screen so they can see your face here. So tell everyone about the experience that you have with the organizations that you're working with and some of the organizations you're working with around parenting.
Okay, well, I mainly work inside of schools and school districts, and also mainly with institutions. So any institution that serves parents, and usually that's in the form of dealing with their children some type of way. Child care, like in early childhood education, in schools, because their children come to school, and after school programs and summer programs and things of that nature. And that's the way that I've been connecting with parents since 2007. But every now and then I strike out trying to connect with Black parents directly, because going through those different institutions, they tend to filter or alter what I'm saying, because not knowing that they're making it harder for me to actually get to.
Because it's not a Black institution.
Right. Exactly.
Let's just say what it is. They ain't Black folks. And it's not a Black agenda, not a Black curriculum. This is why, again, it's so important for us. Of those of you, if you have kids, it might be a really, really good idea to start really thinking about the importance of homeschooling. And that is as tough as it might be, but I think it's my wife and I, if we have kids, I think that's one of the things we would definitely entertain, the idea of homeschooling, because we understand the importance of being able to mold the minds of our own kids as much as we possibly can. So that's okay. And
particularly especially for us as business owners, the businesses that we are starting and growing, you'd be surprised at what our children can do inside of the business once we make them aware of the business and what the purpose of the business and that kind of thing, and give them a small task to do, just so that you can grow their
entrepreneurship, their business acumen.
Well, yes, but I'm talking about in terms of character. Okay. We want to grow consistency. We want to grow thoroughness, that kind of thing. So if we give them a task inside of the business, then it's something that we can monitor and make sure that they complete to our specifications and have plenty of time to practice to do well in it, So absolutely. I'm talking about character development and also contributing to what's feeding you, so. Yeah. And it helps to grow their sense of self, to think beyond their own desires and kind of thing. And because our children, there's nobody more important to our children than us. They want to have an opportunity to make us proud of them.
Yeah, I think that's such a great idea. Having them to work inside of the business, and entrepreneurs, if you have kids. And you might have to ask your accountant. Now, for those of you that are grandparents, you might be able to have your grandkids work inside of your business. And many times that's a tax write-off also, or you could pay them. You can pay them as being employees, as working inside of your business. A lot of times we're looking for help, and we don't know the help is right in your house or in your children's house. So being able to take advantage of that, and then teach your children how to do business. And then, as you're saying, also giving them some character, and helping them to grow in business. Hey, we see other ethnicities do it all of the time, especially
That's right.
we go to a hotel that's not Black owned, that may be Asian owned, or many times their whole family's working inside of there. Or if you go to an Asian restaurant, their whole family's working inside. And so it's important for us to look at those ideas as well, to have our children working inside of our business. That's also a great way to keep working with them and also to stay close to them as they're growing up there as well. All right, so real fast. So again, the challenge is starting next Monday. And again, tell everybody real quickly what they expect to, I want to go to day 2, but just give in a nutshell what they can expect to learn from being a part of the challenge, and then what the fee for the challenge is as well.
Well, it equips parents with basics, that help us to strengthen our relationships with our children and help them to thrive in school, no matter what school they're in, if it's homeschool or if it's a public school or parochial school. And having these tools and being able to implement these tools helps to create peace and stability in our homes, so that we as the parents can meet our own personal and professional goals. We don't have to sacrifice the relationships with our children in order to achieve personal and professional success. So I told you about day 1 where
that's such a great point.
Okay.
Oh, that's a great point. We don't have to sacrifice our relationships with our children to have personal success, because many times that's what happens. Sometimes, as men and, of course, business women, we're traveling, we're going everywhere, we're trying to grow the business. We're up early in the morning, late at night, and our kids your kids have not seen you. And so we're sacrificing that relationship. Oh, so understanding that balance is so key. You actually just mentioned a great point. So everyone, again, really fast, the link is down in the chat. Again, if you're on YouTube, I want to say welcome to everybody that's watching over here on YouTube. Excited to have you all. Send some pretty good comments. If you all have questions, go ahead and place them down in the chat. Definitely are here on Zoom for the members, and then for non-members over on YouTube, place your questions down in the chat if you have any questions for Bolanle. So this is really, really great, because we really want to listen. As you're growing your empire, you don't want to lose your family, right? And then you also want to make sure that you're having a great family. And even if you don't have kids, the importance of still spending time with, if your mom is still alive, your dad's still alive, your brothers, your sisters, and just friends. We can't work all of the time. We can't always be working. We need to have some good balance. We need to be able to go on trips with some of our friends and really, really enjoy our life and have a good balance at life as well. So that's really good. So finish that point you're going to make as well. But that's so key. You don't have to sacrifice your relationship with your children as you're trying to grow your business.
Indeed. So I told you about day 1. We're looking at the current condition of our families and communities, and how it is that it's not something that we created, so we can get rid of shame, embarrassment, and guilt over possible past parenting mistakes. Day 2, we look at it's day 2 and 3 is specifically called Healthy School Home Connection. It helps us, it brings attention to a problem that we face as a nation. It's nationwide, more than half of Black children are failing in school because they read below their grade level. And part of that reason is because we, as parents, we have not prepared our children to be successful in school. And it's understandable that we have not done that, because again, the society doesn't have a process that equips us with the information and tools that allow us to provide a home environment that supports academic success. So we just go over what those really key basic things are. And I can give you a little spoiler on that. The very most important thing that we can do, because we don't realize the ways that we actually teach our children to fail just because we don't have those tools in place. And the number one way we teach our children to fail is at home. We don't teach them to obey us, the parents, and it looks like that's part of the reason why we have the strife in our homes, is because we have not done that one basic foundational thing. And I know that a lot of times, a parent might be thinking, oh, well, shoot, I don't have that problem. Okay, well, there's a quick way to be able to test it. So when you go home, and while you're at home, just ask your child to do something, and just ask them in the way that you usually do, and see how many times you have to ask them. before they do it. Okay. So what you're looking for, and this is a self-check. It's not something for you to get upset about or to, punish the child about or nothing. This is just to do a little self-check, because our children are our mirrors. They're showing us what we're doing and how we're doing. So
that's good.
Okay. So if we have to repeat our instructions, the more we repeat, the more we're actually teaching our children to ignore us. And that's not the child's fault. That's because we don't understand that. Okay. So our goal is for our child to respond the first time that we ask them. Because if we have to ask them twice before they do it, then that means our voice is 50% effective. If we have to ask them 3 times, and then it's 33% effective. 4 times is 25% effective. So you see how the more you have to say it, the less effective our voice becomes.
And then, if a child has, that's enough to have a dad and a mom. We always hear many times how the mom sometimes has to say it over and over and over again, but then the dad comes and says it one time, and they fall in line.
Yeah, that's one of the advantages that fathers have. They have that bass in the voice.
Yeah.
They have that bass, and they have, and there is something to be said about a child's relationship being different with the parent, with the mother versus the father, and so all of that needs to be used to the child's benefit.
Absolutely.
and to the parents' benefit as well. And so in Healthy School Home Connection Day 2 and Day 3, we look at that information, and we also share exactly how to implement obedience as a way to help our children to succeed academically and create peace in the household. And I do know, and we also deal with the word obey, because I know sometimes people have a negative association with the word obey. But I can't find another word that means exactly what obey means, which is to do what one is told when one is told to do it. That's the definition we're talking about.
And like my mom and grandma used to say, because I told you so, to do it.
That's right.
What I told you. Why? Because I told you to do it. God dog it. No, that's important. So this is good. So Day 2, Healthy School Home Connection. Societal changes that negatively impacts everyone's ability to be effective parents. Again, Day 3, the line between adults and children, the most important strategy for parenting.
Yes.
Give us a snippet. What's the most, don't give it away, but what's the most part of the most important strategy for
I did give it. That is to teach our children to obey us.
Okay.
That is it. And we go into detail about how to do that, without catching a case.
Yeah, not catching the case. Yeah, I get that. All right, so this is good. I want to get through these really fast, but I want to ask you about the importance of parents having a group of other parents that they can kind of lean on and ask questions about for their children, having some type of support group. I want to come back to that. So Day 4 again is 11 basic life and relationship truths, and then problem analysis chart. So what's 1 or 2 of the basic life and relationship truths?
Well, number 1, everybody has wants, needs, goals, fears, etc., that are important to them. Do you agree that that's the truth?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is no one's wants, goals, needs is more important than anyone else's.
Listen, so this is so great. So everyone, so again, Day 5, again, that's a great one. Day 5 is, oh man, this is the day 5. Hold on. All right, so I want us to talk about Day 5 because kids and sex education, my. Don't say nothing yet. All right, so this is so key. I think everyone, if you're a parent or if you're a grandparent, you have kids or grandkids, I think this may be a great course, a great challenge for you to take. Just even for the fact that what I just mentioned, many times parents don't have a group of individuals that they could actually go to lean on, to talk about, hey, these are the issues that I'm dealing with our children. And I love what you and Travis were talking about yesterday, because sometimes as adults and as parents, people are just winging it. And we don't have a real system in place. We got systems, we got processes, we got structures, we have all of that for our business, but sometimes we don't have that for our family. And so we're just trying to figure it out, go on. And I love what you said. We're teaching our children to fail because we're teaching some of them some bad habits. And then also what we're doing is we're just trying to, do what our parents did that may worked or maybe it didn't work. But I love the idea of everyone actually, again, it's only $99 for this course. One, it's going to give them access to you, but also it's going to give them access to other parents around the country to see how they're dealing with issues and problems with their teenager, or problems with their 2-year-old, 3-year-old, problems with their 10-year-old, how they're resolving those issues. That way, they're, to your point, they're not trying to figure it out on their own.
That's right, because together we have the answers, so once we get rid of those negative feelings like shame and blame and guilt and embarrassment and all of that, and just talk regular. Yeah. we share insights, and even if none of us, even if we as individuals don't have the answer, the conversation itself generates the answers, because together we have the answers. I see it over and over and over again.
It takes a village, they used to say, right?
That's right. Whenever we gather, we do it, so it's just a matter of us gathering.
Man, I think if there's nothing that we got out of this here today, is being able to connect with other parents, even parents outside of your group, people who are not going to, agree with you, or who are going to actually give you some good feedback, some good suggestions on what they're doing, what's working with Johnny and Tina and Lisa and Paul and all of them, and how you could begin to take that information from what other parents are doing and apply that to your business. And then also working with other entrepreneurs. Hey, how are other entrepreneurs balancing the life of working and building their business while also trying to grow the business at the same time? So again, welcome to everybody that's over on YouTube. Excited to have you all over there. I see some good comments over here as well. Definitely, if y'all have questions, go ahead and place those down in the chat. And if you've made the purchase, go ahead and place it down in the chat. Let us know if you've also made the purchase, and if you plan to be a part of the challenge here coming up on next Monday. I think, one, the information is great, but I think the connections and the relationships that you're going to build with other business owners around the country who are also going through, hey, how do I build a business? And then how do I also, how do I deal with these issues with my kids, my children, or my grandchildren? And then your kids might be grown. How do you, as a business owner, deal with your grown children? And sometimes your children are grown, but they're still living in your house. Right? Yeah, they might be grown, but they're still in your house, halfway paying rent. They don't clean up anything. They got all the problems. So things like that is real and that's serious. So, but being able to have, and I was a child before. We all were children. One of the things that don't always work well, and then also it builds resentment, is when you tell a kid, why do I need to do it? Because I said so. One of the things that I do love about other societies is many times when you look at the way they raise their children, they talk to them, they explain it to them. This is why we're doing this. This is, and sometimes we just say, do it because I told you so. That doesn't work over as time goes on. You need to explain thoroughly why we're doing that, and it's nothing wrong sometimes with explaining that.
Indeed, that's an excellent point. I think you speaking about that deals with the problem analysis chart, because sometimes with that chart we deal with behavior that we're looking at that we don't like and we want to change. If our child is exhibiting certain behavior, then a lot of times we want to punish them. So if it's for fighting or cursing or stuff like that we just don't want children to do, period, but they do it, then we can use the chart to break down the behavior and help us to figure out how to teach about the behavior. Yeah. As opposed to just punishing for the behavior, because generally if there's a problem occurring, it's because of lack of knowledge of one of these 11 life and relationship truths. And so again, our overarching purpose is our overarching responsibility to children is to help them to discover their purpose. And because we don't know that is commonly in society, then we've made some mistakes along the way in parenting our children, and that's completely understandable. So here with this experience with the 5-day challenge, we can equip ourselves with that basic information that allows us to change the trajectory.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give a point. This is something I remember as as I was a child. I won't say which one of my parents was, but sometimes one of my parents would they would I would do something wrong, and then I come from the generation where we got whoopings, and sometimes we got extension cords and switch. They don't do that these days because they call it abuse. But that's a school I come from. But I remember sometimes one of my parents sitting me down, asking me, okay, why did you do this? And then me explaining why I did it. But then I still got a whooping. Like, why are you asking me these questions and you still gonna punish me? At least try to talk me out of it and say, all right, I'm gonna let you off this step. By that case, I'm like, well, what am I talking for? I did it because I just did it. I just wanted to do it.
Indeed.
Does that make sense? So we don't, not always punishing is important, but really understanding and listening to kids and figure out why they did that. Sometimes, well, that could really help the parents and then the children as well, their relationship.
Indeed.
Yeah. Say again.
Did you want?
No, what'd you say? Say again.
Were you asking me something?
Oh, no. I was just, that was a good comment. So let's get to day 5. So day 5, again, is conflict education and sex education and mate selection. Oh my gosh. Now this is important. Obviously, some kids that are online. So actually, everyone do this. If you are on YouTube, again, on YouTube, remember, go ahead and subscribe to the page right now. Again, members, if you are, of course, here on Zoom, I'm going to place the link down here in the chat. And I want you all to just jump on, open up another browser, and make sure you subscribe to the page there. And I'm going to place that down in the chat here. So this is really good for the YouTube page there also. We have some great content that we have now. We have other content that we're going to be placing here coming up in the near future. So, but if you have kids, place down in the chat how many kids you have. If you have children, and also if you have grandchildren. If you have grandchildren, place how many grandchildren you have down in the chat there as well. Also, so place that information, even on YouTube. So on YouTube, go ahead and place the information. I see Sky Life, good, great comment. She said also being able to pay attention, making sure that the kids are able to pay attention and that they're listening to you as you're teaching them to obey. Great comment there. So again, also everyone, place down in the chat how many kids. So I see 4 kids. I see 2 children. This is great. So these are 2 kids there as well. So we're growing our businesses. We're working in businesses. So these strategies are so important because there's so many individuals, 1 child, 8 grandchildren. God bless you, sir. God bless you, sir. God bless you, sir. That's a good family right there. So, but it's important. So, and he has a great business. So, having the children or the grandchildren inside of the business as well, but getting the kids to the point to where they want to spend that much time with us is important also.
And the quality of the quality of the interaction between us when we're in one another's presence is really the focus here. So tapping our parental power and because the information comes from the Tapping Our Parental Power curriculum. That's why it's called Black Parents on Top, TOPP, Tapping Our Parental Power. The exercises and the discussions are intended to make whatever time we already spend with our children more intentional, and actually helping to meet the goals that we have for our families, so it's not about trying to get a already busy parent to carve out some additional time. It's not about that. It's about making the time.
Because they don't have any extra time. Right.
It's about making the time that we do spend, make it intentional, make it productive, make it enjoyable, for us as parents and for the children as well. Speaking of the last day conflict education and sex education and mate selection, a lot of people have a misunderstanding of conflict. I purposely find that conflict is a beautiful thing because it helps us to know ourselves better depending on how we treat it, because that's, again, we've been taught in this society that, if there's a conflict, then we just need to hammer it out and see who's going to, triumph over the other person. And that's not generally, that's not our worldview. because we tend to lean toward cooperation than to competition, so we can use conflict to be able to grow, to strengthen our relationships with one another, because conflict comes from, we look at the root cause of conflict. There is one general root cause of conflict and how it is that we can use it to strengthen our relationships. So that's conflict education. And then there's
all right, this is the big one.
Sex education.
Because let me ask this question, because I got a lot of people that actually place down in the chat. I see over on YouTube. So someone says 3 children. Another person says 3 children and a grandchild. Good job. So, but I want to ask this question: how many of your parents sat you down and actually talk to you about sex education? How many of your parents, how many of your parents, did your parents sit you down when you were a child and talk to you, or a teenager, and talk to you about sex education? Put a yes or no down in the chat. I'm really interested in seeing this answer and this response, because where do we learn? There's a no there. Where do we learn this information from? We learned it from the streets. We learned it from online. Well, not back in the day. Back in the day, we learned from magazines. We learned it from our friends. We learned from TV. We learned from school. And so if our parents aren't teaching us, who's teaching us? So somebody put a big no there. So most people are saying no. So somebody over here, somebody say not at all. No, man. So great. So very few people are saying yes. All right. So let me ask this question here. This is good. How many of you as parents? Naomi said never. Never. I love it. This is a great question because it's real, and this we need to understand this in our Black community. This is good. I'm getting mostly no's. So let me ask this question: how many of you as parents have sat your kids down and talked to them about sex? How many of you have done that? So let me get that, and tell the truth. If it's no, just say no. We don't have to, nobody has to try to look good here. We're all trying to be better. So how many of you all have already, and all right, somebody said I've started, because listen, the schools are trying to teach them. The schools are trying to put it in all kinds of books these days. Somebody said partially. I plan on it, but when is the appropriate age? Listen, you jump a great question. This is why this session is so good, why you actually need to be on it. Definitely. You should definitely be pay the $99 again. Go ahead and place the link down in the chat again, Kadisha. I'm seeing some people saying partially, not really. They're scared of that conversation, don't know when to have it, how to have it. But listen, Disney's having it every day. If you watch Disney TV shows and movies, they're teaching your kids about sex. If you just turn on television, they're teaching your kids about sex. If you watch YouTube, they're teaching your kids about sex. When they go to school, and I know when I hung around my friends, they taught me about. I have 4 older brothers. Bamas taught me about sex. So this is what happens if you're not teaching your children. Somebody is teaching. Like great comment, Jamil. As I said, music is teaching them as well. I got a little niece, 6, 7 years old. She understands lyrics better than anyone. So I was like, I didn't know there was in those lyrics. And she just repeats up, and she knows when there's a bad word. She'll skip over the bad word and she'll keep singing the rest of the song. So, but they're being taught about sex, right? But we have to teach them ourselves. So someone asked, when is, I like that, Ayana say it is an ongoing learning session. Sounds like that's what you're saying. So when is a great time to start teaching our children about sex?
There's a few different opportunities. One, when we see that they have been exposed to something sexual in nature, then that's a good time to talk about what they've seen, and also a good time to share what our views are about it. We can intentionally, do it as initially, to initiate the conversation at any time. And it can begin with making our children aware of their own body parts, and what they are for.
Absolutely. Yeah. At what age do you do that? Sometimes it's probably not a particular age, but what's a good age to start to do that?
It starts when you're communicating with them, because it also has to do with teaching them about body autonomy. So,
Mhm.
a toddler, when they're washing up, they have washed different body parts and that kind of thing, and this is your body, this is your uh, vagina, this is your anus, this is your penis, this is, that kind of thing, just to give them correct information about their own body.
Absolutely.
And then to also to answer their questions, because they will have questions when they see something or hear something that they don't understand, and they come and ask us questions, and it's in our best interest to actually answer the question instead of sending them away. And especially when we're surprised by a young child asking a sexual question, it's not as deep as we think it is, so just answer the question in as succinct a way as possible. And it would be helpful, that in the challenge, we can go through some scenarios, like in this instance, what should I say or what can I say, and that kind of thing.
No, that is, everyone on YouTube, I just placed a link down in the chat. So if you want to sign up for the challenge, again, it's only $99. I think the 99 is so great. One is going to give you access to Bolanle. What we didn't talk about also was you've done some things for the Urban League as well, right?
That's right. I'm in the process of we're in the process of piloting the Healthy School Home Connection that I shared about. That's part of day 2 and 3, because that has to do with the reason for creating that is specifically to deal with the fact that so many of our children are failing nationwide and not thriving in school. So we're setting the tone among the adults and having agreement among the adults about the environment our children need to thrive, and that it is our role to provide that environment. And the reason, when you think about it, again, the society doesn't have a process that equips its people to be effective parents, but we're still growing up and we all are in all of the different occupations.
Wait, you said that so fast, and that's such a great point. Society does not have a process to teach individuals how to be effective parents.
That's right.
Somebody please put that down in the chat if you can. Society does not have a process to teach people how to become effective parents. Wow.
That's right. And so again, we're all making it up. But when you think about it, we're all in all of the different occupations. We're teachers. Just because we're teachers doesn't mean that we know how to be effective parents. Just because we're business owners doesn't mean we know how to be effective parents. Just because we're police officers and firefighters and we work in grocery stores, all of us, and no matter the occupation, no matter the socioeconomic status, we have not gotten this basic information.
Listen, we can name individual after individual after individual, and I love. I was watching a video one day, and many of us have heard of Billy Graham, individual who preached all over the world, and literally all over the world, traveled everywhere. But the one regret he had, and if you actually watch his daughter, and even I think we even had this with Oral Roberts as well, with some of his children, that he did not spend enough time with his children, going out saving the world. But some of his own kids are even to the day just a little upset that he did not spend enough time with them while they were kids. And so as we're trying to grow our businesses, that's why I love what you said, not trying to make up new time, but maximizing the time that we have with our kids and doing those right activities, I think is extremely important. So everyone, go ahead and sign up for this course. If you haven't signed up yet, over on YouTube, the link I just placed it down on my name, Brian Morris. The link is in the chat. Kadisha just placed the link down in the chat there as well. Again, it starts when? When does the day of course start?
Starts Monday.
Starts on Monday. Monday at 7 p.m.
Coming Monday.
There's a couple reasons why I really suggest that everyone takes this course. Number one, I think is a good reason. One, for the information, especially if you're a parent or grandparent, this was a great time to really to learn some tips from someone who has 4 kids and twins. God bless her. And also who does this for a living, teaches at schools, teaches as well at the National Urban League, working with them as well. So that she has a history of some success working with parents. But also, I think the second thing could be just as important as the information. It's the relationships and connections that you start to build with other parents around the country who are also entrepreneurs, who are trying to grow their businesses, who are trying to expand, who are also trying to understand, hey, how do I juggle this stuff? How do I have kids and business and life and everything else and pay the bills and everything else I have to do? Because a lot of times we have 1,000 things going on. And so but being able to have a support group, I think that's one of the things that they'll also be able to, you'll be able to create out of this as a support group that parents will be able to connect with each other as well.
Indeed. Indeed.
No, this is good. All right. So before we jump off, let's talk about, let's go back to the sex part because that's important.
Yes. Let me say something about that.
Yeah, hold on thought, because I want to say,
okay.
I think as Luana, I don't know how to, Awana, she said 5 or 6 is a great time to start educating kids about sex, is what she said. That's her suggestion. But I want to give a shout out to one of my cousins. Her name is Ellen. I was with her one day, and we're actually in an elevator, and we were going up the elevator, and she had a son at the time. He was probably about 6 or 7 years old, and as a mom, she explained to him. She said, "What is that down there?" He said, "That's my penis." She said, "If anyone ever touches that, what are you supposed to do? Let me know." And that I remember that was probably 10 years ago. I love that she did that, because teaching, we can't run away from this subject, because the world's not running away from it. They're teaching our kids, they're molding our kids. There's literally a channel that's, I think, owned by Disney called Freeform. And you should go and look up the definition of what freeform means. And that is so crazy, how they're all in your face and really doing everything they can to teach our children, and we are behind the 8 ball and not teaching them ourselves.
Indeed. And I would add to that, I was going to say that about bodily autonomy. That is something that children can be taught as soon as you're communicating. As soon as the child is communicating, you don't have to wait till they're 4 or 5 to do that. Okay. And so can I talk about the sex education?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Let's do
All right. So that's built on what I already shared a little while ago about the fact that, puberty kicking in the early teens, but adulthood being moved, and puberty not going anywhere, So at that point, as parents, we have not prepared ourselves for that eventuality, the inevitability of our children becoming interested in another person and being sexually attracted to another person. And we place unrealistic expectations on them. We say stuff like, you better not like nobody.
Right.
And if you do like them, you better not act on it.
Right.
And yeah, so it's unrealistic expectations because we were not successful in doing that. Right. And so it gives us a chance that particular section gives us a chance to actually plan it and plan communication about it, just so that, like, for example, when do we want our children to have sex? When do we want them to be married? What is a boyfriend and girlfriend? What are activities of boyfriends and girlfriends? And what constitutes a healthy relationship? What constitutes an unhealthy relationship? How will they know the difference? That kind of thing. So it gives us a chance to do some thinking and some planning, and helps to create a foundation from which to communicate.
All right, great. Listen, great job to the members that are signing up. I'm looking at that now. So definitely, I want to get a couple more of you all signing up and actually taking this. I think many of you could really benefit from this. Again, it's only $99. But I think the community, and this is why I love that you mentioned earlier, Africa-centered education. The community is so important. Being able to work together and raise our kids together is key, because no one parent has all the answers. No 2 parents has all the answers. But being able to share this information amongst each other and learning from each other, I think, is absolutely key. So if you're on YouTube, the link is down in the chat. Go ahead and click on the link down in the chat and sign up right now while we're on the line. I want to see a couple more. You actually go ahead and get signed up. It's only $99. We spend $99. Just actually going to the movies, going out to eat. Definitely going out to eat. I know I spend $99 going out to eat.
That's right. And that's one meal that's
That's
going to
one
be
meal.
gone the next day.
Gonna be gone. Exactly, exactly. But this education, just the fact that a couple of individuals asked, hey, when is the right time to start talking about sex with our kids? Or, just, understanding how to have different conversations. But I always say in business, success is a system. And it's basically doing that same thing over and over again, tweaking it and increasing it. And the success as a parent is having the right systems as well. Obviously having the right love, having the right information, the right tools. And how many parents do you hear say, hey, I just didn't know what I was doing. I'm so sorry. That happens, but sometimes it's not an excuse when the education is right there in front of your face, when we could actually get ourselves educated to make sure that we're teaching our kids properly. And I love what you said. Our job is to teach our kids what they're here for. Our children shouldn't be 19 years old, 20 years old, and don't know their purpose, don't understand why they're here, and why they were created. We may not understand it, but we can start pointing them in the right directions and showing them as well.
And exposing them to different opportunities so that they can learn themselves, learn what they're good at, what they're not good at, what they would like to learn, but, maybe struggling in, or, that kind of thing. It allows them to, we can create experiences for them and for ourselves that especially if we are not clear about our own purpose, it's about self-knowledge. There are a bunch of different systems that teach you about yourself, different types of personality tests and stuff like that tell you about what fields you're good at, that kind of thing. So it's all different types of self-knowledge activities and experiences that are available to help us to discover our purpose. And if we expose our children to them early enough, then it can help them to discover their purpose as well.
And they won't be 50 years old, 40 years old in life trying to figure out, hey, why am I here?
That's right.
That happens all the time. What is my purpose? You're just going through life working, trying to grow a business and trying to do something, but not really understand. It's so funny. I just put it on YouTube, on Facebook yesterday, actually. And Mark Twain said, obviously, there's two important days in our life: the day that we were born and the day we realized why we were born. And obviously, I'm an unapologetic Christian. And so, me understanding what my purpose is extremely important. So that way I can fulfill my God-given purpose, and you can fulfill your God-given purpose while you're here on earth, because there's a lot of rich people, but this is what I say a lot of times, and people may disagree with this, but this is so important. If you have become rich at something that was not your purpose, you have wasted your time. See, because our purpose in life is not to get rich. Our purpose is to fulfill whatever it is God has created us to do, but we need money to do that. And so our goal is not to go out and make as much money as we can, is to make as much money as we can to funnel our purpose. And so this is why people, they're rich, they got all this money, and they always talk about how billionaires are unhappy many times, millionaires are unhappy. And I've seen some thousandaires unhappy. So you don't have to be rich to be unhappy, right? I've seen all kinds of people unhappy. But when I've come to understand, when you understand who you are, why God created you, it gives you purpose. It helps you your life. It brings your life so much more fulfillment than just going about every day trying to figure it out on your own.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, so going back to that point there, teaching our kids the importance of who they are and what they're supposed to be doing. So talk about that again. So wrap this up again. So again, thank you to everyone that's signing up. So I need a couple more people to sign up before we get offline here today. Again, the link is down in the Zoom. Go ahead and get some. Still got about several members on the Zoom. So definitely want a couple more of you, especially if you're a parent. If you're a parent, I think this is great. If you're a future parent, this is great as well. If you're a grandparent, this is great. And again, if you're over on YouTube, go ahead and click on the link. It's down in the chat. It's also in the description. But give everybody a snapshot again of what they're going to learn on the course, the 5-day challenge here coming up on Monday.
Okay. Will you please share that screen again?
Yes. I can share the screen again.
Oh, and it's also important to note that we will be recording the sessions. So of course they will be available to you if you're unable to be present for all 5 sessions at at that particular time. So they will be recorded and available for you.
There we go.
Once again, the purpose of the, I'm sorry. Oh, okay, there you go. But the purpose of it, day one, yes, we've already talked about the overarching responsibility to our children, which is to help our children to discover their purpose. Now, the Unite Rise relationship and productivity model has to do with our way of interacting with each other and what we can accomplish inside of the way that we interact with each other, being willing to be self-aware, aware of our beliefs, our attitudes, our behaviors and emotions, and the impact that we're making, especially when we're talking about in the role as parents, because the way that we interact with our children has everything to do with how our children view themselves and how they view the rest of the world and how they treat themselves in the rest of the world. Okay.
Right. All right. Then day two.
Day two. Now, there's a line between adults and children that is slowly getting erased. I'm not sure if you've noticed that. Have you noticed that the line between adults and children is getting erased? And what do I mean by that? I mean, let me see. Children believe themselves to be peers to adults. Now, I'm not saying that children are less important than adults, but children and adults.
Everybody has their place.
Peers. Yes, they're not. Children and adults are not peers.
Right.
One is responsible for the other. That's how you know that we're not peers. And so you can look at things that are happening in society today that shows that the line between adults and children are getting erased, and adults are starting to treat children as if they are peers.
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed the push toward mainstreaming and legalizing pedophilia?
Wow, you're stepping on something right now.
Because this is becoming an increasingly child unfriendly society. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yes. And when we're looking at things like that, and on the child side, children are becoming increasingly disrespectful and stuff like that. That's because that's evidence that the line is erasing. We're trying children as adults. This system is trying children as adults more often and executing children for crimes and arresting kindergartners for sexual harassment and stuff like that. Okay, that's evidence of the line being erased between adults and children. So who's erasing the line? Is it adults or is it children?
Yeah, and these are things that we're going to talk about inside of and these are discussions that I think is so important for men to talk to other men, so important for women to talk to other women, and it's so important for parents to talk to other parents in a group setting about and be real, be authentic. Hey, what issues are you dealing with? How are you solving them? And then also vice versa, listening to other individuals. I think all of that's so key. So let's run through this real fast. So day two, healthy school-home connection, societal changes that negatively impacts everyone's ability to be effective parents. That's great. The line between adults and children, the most important strategy for parenting. We touched on that a little bit earlier. 11 basic life and relationship truths, problem analysis chart, conflict education, and sex education and mate selection. That conflict education amongst families is so key because one of the things I learned is sometimes we have not been taught properly how to resolve conflict without getting angry. This is why you have adults. Some people right now listening now, you're gonna make me preach it but some people on the line, whether it be on YouTube or on Zoom, 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, still mad at their parents, or right now, some of you are mad at your brothers, mad at your sisters, have a grudge, holding unforgiveness, and so every time you see them, you're yelling at them or you're avoiding them. Don't say again.
Or even not speaking.
Not speaking. We, as the Black community, we have to cut that stuff out. So we have to understand how to resolve conflict without getting upset. And these are conversations I have with my family as well. I'm kind of the firecracker in the family. So I've had to learn here just recently how to control what I say, and how everything I say, I don't have to be snappy. I don't have to be so aggressive with my speech all the time. And I don't have to fight my family. You don't have to fight your family. You don't have to be angry and upset with them. Just have a conversation. So, and also be willing to admit that you're wrong, right? Because I say it all the time. Every single person that's on this Zoom, that's on YouTube, you have been wrong, or you're going to be wrong one day, right? Or you're going to be wrong tomorrow. So if somebody is wrong, so just admit, hey, I was wrong. Admit you was wrong, apologize, and let's move on. And just holding on to pride and holding on to anger and holding on to this pride. I'm not going to apologize because that means I'm weak. No, when you don't apologize, it means you're weak.
And that's the
Strong
most
people.
empowering thing we can do. That's the most empowering thing we can do, which is to acknowledge when we're wrong and apologize for
Absolutely.
it. Because of course so it's not that, we all may intend to impact positively, but sometimes we miss the mark and we impact negatively. And that's the reason for having the apology, to be able
Exactly.
to say, hey, you're acknowledging that misstep and acknowledging the negative impact that you made on someone else.
So I'm going to say, if you own this live right now, whether you're listening to us live or this being recorded, and thank you for the couple other individuals that are signing up. So this is good. I'm glad that you were taking advantage of this. If you know that you're holding unforgiveness against your parents, man, we're getting into some stuff here. If you know you're holding unforgiveness against your parents, you're still upset with your mom, still upset with your dad, you're upset with your brother, or sometimes we're upset with ourselves because of the decisions we made when we were kids, or some decisions we're making right now as parents.
That's
I
right.
think this is a perfect time to sign up, because again, as the saying goes, don't be a public success and a private failure. Don't come impressed. This is one reason personally, and I don't always talk about myself, but this is one reason personally why I'm not always on Facebook. I'm not always on Instagram. I'm not always on social media, because I don't need you to show me all this highlight reel, when I know behind the scenes, when I sit down and talk to you, it's not everything you're showing. You want to show your cars, your houses, and oh my gosh, little Johnny just graduated, but you ain't speaking to little Johnny half the time. You're not treating him right. I don't like to look at the highlight reels and a lot of the fakeness that we see on social media. And so we have to get real with what we're dealing with, and get real and get some real people around us so we can solve these real issues. So if you know that you're dealing with some issues that happen from your childhood, some issues because again, those things that happen in your childhood and that happen in our childhood, many times that's going to carry over with us being parents, because we haven't resolved it yet. And especially I've seen parents who take out things on their kids because they're upset with the husband, or they're upset with their child's father. They're upset with other individuals. So they start taking these things out on their kids as well. So we need conflict resolution. We need to understand, how do I resolve these conflicts? And it's not therapy, but it's going to help you with obviously getting some pointers and some keys and some tips on how to really handle these issues that we're dealing with on a daily basis. Man, we could talk about that for hours. It is so important for us to get real tips, so that way, one of the best things that a parent can do as well is, sometimes if you're wrong, apologize to your kid. Hey, I was wrong. Sometimes as parents, a lot of times we're like, no, I'm not going to apologize. They're going to show me that I'm weak, and then they're going to respect you even more when they realize, hey, you were wrong. You made the bad decision. You didn't pay the light bill, or you did something wrong. Whatever it was, you should have let me go out and hang out with my friend Johnny, but you didn't let me go out and hang out with him. You're too strict. You got too much discipline. All of those things are so key. And it's so important for us to admit that we're wrong. When you apologize to your kids, you don't understand how much that helps those children when we apologize to them as well.
That's absolutely right. Yes, all of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you have to say about that as we wrap up here?
It really does strengthen our relationships with our children when we show them, and it sets up an example for them to be able to do the same thing. Yeah. Because we really are teaching our children with everything that we say and everything that we do. Our children's nature is such that they copy us, and they give us whatever it is that we give them. So if you think about a sponge, if you take a sponge and you put it in water and you take it out, and you squeeze it, water's going to come out. Take the same sponge, put it in milk, take it out, squeeze it, milk is going to come out. Our children are sponges like that. They are soaking up whatever we put them in. And the society doesn't have a process that equips us with that understanding. But what I find over and over again, that once parents get that understanding, then we become much more intentional about what it is that we do and say in front of our children, because we're aware that we're the example, and we're also much more intentional about what we allow our children to be exposed to and allow them to experience. And it automatically sets our families on a more positive and intentionally positive trajectory, just because we are more aware as parents.
Yeah. How many times have you heard someone say, hey, I never saw my mom and dad being affectionate, so I don't know how to be affectionate, right?
Oh, yes, shoot, I can say that myself, that's very true. But guess what? My children have, because I've been open to, and because I was fortunate enough through random circumstances to be able to come into this information about conscious and aware parenting when my children were young. I was able to create the kind of environment that causes, people to say that my children are great people, and they're great people. And they taught me to be affectionate because I was open enough with them to allow them to be themselves so that they can teach me. And what I really say about them is they raised me pretty well.
Good. That's good. No, I love what Brenda said over here on YouTube. She said, I'm looking forward to the upcoming lesson. My children are grown now, but I know I missed the mark on some things with my adult children. I don't want to pass this down to the next generation. Oh, that's such a great point.
That is going to be fantastic.
Yeah. So because I think everybody is in the Black community, many of us are thinking about, okay, generational wealth. And, how do I take this money, pass it down to the next generation? But if you know the truth, many times when you're looking at generational wealth, the wealth that is created in the first generation sometimes is gone by the third generation, right? So you can't just pass down money. You also, our bad habits, this is why people love to say, well, diabetes running in our family, high blood pressure running in our family. No, many times what it is those bad habits running in our family, that we haven't broke those generational curses. And so we're keeping the bad habits going. And so we're teaching our kids, we haven't sat down and talked to them about sex. We're not showing them affection. We're not properly showing them how to resolve conflict without yelling and screaming. Listen, kids are watching you. They're watching us. When we're yelling and screaming, that's teaching them, oh, when I have conflict, my job is to yell and scream.
That's right.
Instead of to sit down and talk about it and to properly resolve the conflict, because as you said, with that sponge, they're soaking up everything we're giving them. Even if it seems like I don't know, as a child, I was watching everything my mom and dad did. Even when they didn't know I was watching them, I was watching them. I was paying attention to them. And sometimes I didn't want them to know I was watching them, but I was watching them. And that's
That's the nature of children. That is the nature of children. And we need to know that.
Exactly. All right, so we're going to save some for the session because this is good stuff. So thank you to everybody that signed up. If you have not signed up yet, go ahead and sign up. The link is there down in the chat. It's only $99. Many times we're going to take the same $99 right now and hop on Amazon and buy some junk. I'll buy some stuff on DoorDash or something else, but let's invest this into yourself, invest in your children, invest in the next generation, $99. And I can't stress enough, the information that you're going to learn here is so key and so important, but also not just the information, but the relationships. Every time we bring someone up here that's a member host a Zoom call, that's a member of Black Directory, and they're doing one of these challenges, I always say it's not just the information and the resources that you're going to learn and even the way to do business, but these relationships that you start to create that's going to take you for the rest of your life as well. And some of you that are going to take this course, are going to take this challenge, are going to start having relationships around the country that's going to take you now for the rest of your life. So this is not just about, hey, let's take a challenge. This is also about connecting with someone that needs to be a part of your destiny, needs to be a part of your future that can help you fulfill your purpose in life as well. This is why you get married. You get married and you find the right mate, somebody that can help you fulfill your destiny. This is ultimately what happens sometimes is We marry people because they look good, and we marry people because, whatever, we get along. Those things are great. But you also need to marry someone who can help you fulfill the reason why you're here.
Exactly.
I got a great friend right now. He was married at the time, and he loved working for this company. And but his wife hated it. She hated it. She hated it. She hated it. And finally, one day, it drove a wedge between their relationship. They ended up getting a divorce. Now he's very, very successful inside of that business. He wasn't successful at the time. She didn't see his dream. She didn't see his passion. She didn't care. She wanted him to work a regular 9 to 5. But now he's very successful at what he's doing because he understood this is a part of what I'm supposed to be doing. Yes. So the people that we need to be connected to, whether they're our mates, our spouses, or our friends, they need to understand what your purpose is and what you're called to do, and they need to be helping you to do it, and vice versa. We need to be helping them to fulfill their destiny and purpose as well. If I'm not helping anybody, the best thing I can do is withdraw myself from their life so they can go on and do what they need to do, and I can do what I need to do. All right, so give me some of your final thoughts here.
My final thought is this. When we're raising our children, this is something my teacher said that carried me through all the way up to now. She told me this 20-something years ago. When we're raising our children, we're not just raising our grandchildren. We're not just raising our children, we're also raising our grandchildren.
How about that?
Yeah, because we're setting the legacy. We're doing that, and we're doing it, period. Even if we're conscious of it or not, we're doing that. So think about it like this. If you were to come back and be raised by your children or your grandchildren, does that idea make you feel good?
If your grandchildren came back and raised
you, if you like your grandchildren may be born and that kind of thing.
Right,
and
right.
Once you pass, you came back. If you came back as your grandchildren's child.
Yeah. How will that work? It's like, man, my grandparent don't know what I'm doing. Well, you taught them.
Because we're raising our children.
That's
we're
good.
raising our children, and the way we raise our children impacts how our children raise
their children. Raising them from generations. That is such a great point. That's such a great point. Listen, this is really good. Again, if you haven't signed up yet, go ahead and sign up. The link is down in the chat. Go ahead and sign up. And it starts on Monday at 7 o'clock. But I want to thank Bolanle because you really gave some great tips today. I've actually personally enjoyed this here myself as well. So if you're on YouTube, remember, go ahead and subscribe to the page and like this session here as well. Again, members, if you have not liked or subscribed to our Black Director page, you want to go ahead and subscribe and like to that because we got some great content coming up. We're going to be launching a brand new show here coming up very soon. We're still finishing it up and wrapping it up and editing it, but it's almost pretty much done now. And now we got to work on some of our other segments. But this is really, really good. And because we're going to keep bringing great content like this, because it's not just about making money. Thank you, Khadisha. It's not just about making money. What are you making money for? And who are you making money for? Right? You want to make money so you can spend that with yourself, spend that with your friends, spend that with your family. But some of us can't go on vacation with our brothers and sisters because they're upset. We're upset with each other. That's right. Some of us can't go on vacation with some of our children because some of our children are mad at us and upset with us because some of the stuff we did, we want to blame it on everybody else, like it's their fault. No, I was just having a conversation with a gentleman. I was in Atlanta, and we're going to end on this. And he's late 30s, and his child was probably about 16, 17 years old. And we kept asking him a question. Hey, what's going on with you? And every time we asked him a question, he blamed his child. I could not believe it. Every time I asked him a question, he turned around, blamed his child. Well, he's not doing this. He's not doing this. Then he did another question, blamed his child. I finally had to say, you're the problem. Mm-hmm. You're blaming it on your child. You are the problem. If you straighten up, your child more than likely will straighten up. So, but children do have their own mindset. So it doesn't mean that children are going to be perfect. They're still going to do what they want to do, but we have to do the best job we can do as well. Make sense? All right, listen, thank you everybody for your time. I enjoyed this. Let's thank Ms. Bolanle for her time. Thank her for her information. And for those of you that have signed up, I'm really looking forward to seeing what, the relationships that you're going to be able to create out of this, and then the information you're going to be able to gather. Because as we're growing great Black businesses, we also need to grow great Black families. And we need successful Black businesses, successful Black families. That's going to change the course and change our community there as well. So thank you all. Remember, you can share this link. If you're on YouTube, share this with somebody else. Share this with somebody that's a parent, somebody that's a future parent. If you got a family friend that's pregnant, send this over there to them so that they can actually start to get this information now versus trying to learn on the job. Too many of us are learning OJT, on the job training. And we don't always want that. You want to be prepared. There's a reason why we go to college. We go to college so we can grab that information and so we can learn, so that once we get to a job, we already have the information that we need. And we want to do the same thing with our community as well. So Apex Real Estate Academy said, thank you, sending this to my adult children. Thank you so much. Yes, send this to your friends, send this to your enemies. Anybody that you know, send them to, because listen, we have to create a better community. And I'm going to put everybody on mute for some reason. I'm hearing some background noises there. All right. So again, if you know that someone that you know that needs this information, share this with them. Share this information with them. Share this information with them. Because again, especially if you got a loved one that you are, I can't get away from this. If you have a loved one, if you are the person that are holding grudges against your friends, against your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, your cousins, your mom, your dad, some of our parents have passed away and we're still upset with them. Some of us need to sit down this evening and pray and really forgive and also forgive ourselves. Forgive them for the mistakes they made. Forgive ourselves for the mistakes that we're making. Let's release these grudges. Let's release this anger that we have sometimes toward our loved ones. And then also, let's look in the mirror. As we're trying to blame everybody else, let's look in the mirror, because we cannot make anybody else change, but we can change ourselves. So let's look in the mirror and see exactly what we've done wrong. And let's begin to change. Even if the other person never changes, let's make sure we change. That helps to create a better life and a better community as well. Any other thoughts you want to end on, Bolanle?
We're talking about this, and it's important for us to realize the investment that we're making in our, not just our families, but also in ourselves, in our own peace of mind, in our own just learning, just so that we can fulfill our responsibility to our children and feel good about that. You know, when we think about our children growing to be mature, responsible people who advance the community with their talent, skills, and creativity, and raise their children to do the same thing, what does that do for us?
Yeah, it makes us feel so much better.
Indeed.
Now this is great. I think, you know, as we're trying to grow our empires, let's make sure we grow in our families. We're not neglecting our families. And let's make sure that we are pouring into the next generation, because I love that point you made. As parents, we're not just raising our children, we're also raising our future grandchildren. And so everything we're pouring into our children, they're going to take that information and pour it into their kids. And so we want to make sure that we are passing down great ethics, great morals, great personalities as well, because this is going to continue. Not just for one generation, it's going to continue for generations to come.
That's right. Because we're doing it. We're already doing it. Yeah. So if we invest in this, then it'll help us to make sure that we are transmitting exactly what it is that we want to transmit.
This is excellent. So I just placed down in the chat also over on YouTube, if you want to become a member of Black Directory, this is what you see as being a non-member, but there's so much more that you see behind the scenes as being a member. We also want to help you obviously grow your business. We want to help you to increase your revenue. Obviously, Bolanle is a great member here as well. We want to help you to increase everything that you're doing and grow and expand. So this is a great session to really help our members to really kind of not just take their business to the next level, because again, as I mentioned before, you don't want to be a public success and a private failure. And you know, the truth of the fact is we don't know what goes on behind the closed doors at your house, but one day it'll come out. One day it'll come out, and your kids will start talking about it. Things will start happening. So we want to make sure that we are doing everything we can to take care of our houses, take care of our families, and really take these keys and these skills and apply them and really build a community around. If you don't have, if you're married, husband and wife, if you don't have any other couples that have kids, I definitely encourage you to get some couples around you so that you can begin to learn from them what they're doing with their children, so that you could actually begin to pour that into your family there as well. So as we jump off here, I want to give a shout out to Tyran. Tyran said, I just want to add that there are, let's see, there are a huge amount of teachers who are underpaid and not aware. Absolutely. So Tyran also said, thank you for these parenting tips. So he said, thank you for these tips. So Tyran, if you have not done so yet, click on the link, go ahead and join this session. How do we say that again? What is it?
Black Parents on Top.
Black Parents on Top.
POPP.
Black Parents on Top. Listen, this is good stuff. Thank you all for joining us. And I got to give a shout out to my boy, Warren. Oh, where you been, man? Where you been? What's going on, man? He just jumped on the line. Mr. Warren brought next. And actually, he has a great thing that he's going to be doing over in Houston for Black men. So I just saw that. So that's really, really good stuff. So listen, we have to, as we're growing up build businesses, we got to build great communities as well. So thank you all for joining. If you have not signed up yet, go ahead and sign up again. The link is down in the chat. Take part in this. Let's learn some tips. Don't be afraid to say that you haven't figured it out. Don't be afraid to say that you still need to learn, because we're all learning, whether you're a parent or not. We're all still learning how to be adults. We're learning to do everything that we need to do. So all of this is absolutely important. So thank you all for your time. And thank you all for joining us. And again, this starts on Monday. Did anyone on Zoom have a question before we jump off? Anybody have a question? All right, we're out of here. Y'all have a great one. Thank you so much, ma'am. It starts on Monday at 7 o'clock. So thank you all for everyone that's signing up. A few others that should be signing up as well. The link is down in the chat. Also, if you're on YouTube, the link is in the description. And for the members, I'm going to email the link out as well, so you can actually go and utilize the link to get signed up. You all have a great day. Let's build great Black businesses. Let's build great Black families as well. Y'all have a great one. Thank you all. Take care.